In a room full of people, I can always identify the lions, which is very few, the sheep, which is the many.
So many people trying to fit this persona like I'm the man or I'm the woman.
It's such a thin line between confidence and arrogance, right? It's a very thin line. It gets blurred often.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. We're going virtual again. Happy to see everybody. Now, today's episode, it's a continuation of a conversation that both Rodney and Mike were having. Could you let me in on that one?
Yeah, no doubt. So Rodney and I, we talk all the time, right? And we were just having a conversation, and it was sparked by a podcast that I was listening to. And the guy, he was kind of talking about, to be successful in life, it's a constant balance between humility and confidence, right? If you have too much of either side, you're not going to be good. Or if you have too little of either side, it's not a recipe for success. And just to add a little more color to that picture, we're saying, like, if you have someone that is very humble, very humble in life, but they have no confidence, then I'll show you a person that's going to get ran over, like, without a doubt. And on the flip side, if you have somebody that is extremely confident, but they have no humility, then more than likely they're on a crash course with some bumpy times, because they're not forecasting any pivots. They're not seeing any need to readjust, to bring the team along. They don't believe they're going to make any mistakes. And so in life, man, when you really study like the most successful people, or like the people that I look up to and respect, it really is a constant balance of humility and confidence, man. And I think in today's society, it's getting much more off balance because of many factors. I'll let you guys kind of chime in what you think some of those factors are, but then I'll circle back on some of the reasons why I think that it's getting off balance.
That whole confidence and humility play in every part of our life, I think. I mean, in our relationships too as well. And so, Mike, I think, we were like, hey, we need to talk about this, because a lot of people do walk around, and we got to make sure that we don't do that. I had to kind of check myself to make sure, okay, for one, where am I at with that balance, And I know sometimes we can think that we're being humble. In reality, we might be a little too confident in that humbleness, meaning that, we think we holding back, but we're not. And then sometimes we're not as confident as we should, because we walk in the room like, well, do we really belong in this room? You know what I mean? And it's like that right there. It's almost like when people see that, it's like they can tell. I don't care how you dress, how you look. If you don't have that self-confidence in a way that shows, it's showing how you walk, it's showing how you approach people, that can stop you from making that connection. That can stop you from having that deal. You know what I'm saying? Or it can stop you from having a good relationship with somebody, because, they're like, well, look, I can't, there's not somebody I want to associate with. So I thought it'd be worth throwing out there, man. So Martel, me and Mike had a whole long conversation on it. So yeah, love to get your take on it too as well.
No, this is actually a subject that I've kind of thought about for a while. Like I've had it, I've talked about it before, but it's like being, and I kind of put it, the term that I use is like confident humility, because it has to be that, there has to be that balance. Now, me, I'm not huge on networking events. I personally don't necessarily like to be at networking events. I don't really see, there's a bunch of value in it for other people, depending on what your business model is and what you do and what you're trying to do. But for me, necessarily, I don't really want to be at too many events. But at this one in particular, I was invited to go to it. And so, man, when you walk in there, you can tell on people that, when you get dressed up, you feel good, right? You feel good when you dress up nice. But then there was some people who kind of took it to the next level because of how they interacted with others. And so I knew in particular there was one fella who I had talked to, and we were talking about business before. He was trying to he was inquiring about, making a YouTube channel and all this other stuff. And I'm not going to give any details about specifically his. You might identify the guy, but one thing that came from that conversation that became very apparent to me, which is why we never moved forward, is he kind of was in it. He was kind of in this thing for himself, and his motivation was it wasn't like blatantly wrong, but it definitely doesn't help anybody. And so that was just something that I did not want to be a part of. And so like when I saw him in that room, and then I could see how he would interact with other people. And it's so interesting too, because we were talked about being too much of either side. I notice when someone is, and I mean, you can take this all the way back to high school. I think high school is a great ground if you pay attention, because there's a lot of people who stay the same for the rest of life. Okay. But there's some people who walk into a room like this, where they know the movers and shakers are in here, and they got their stuff on, they're dressed up, they brought their lady with them. And they, unlike other people who might try to talk to everybody, trying to get everybody's contact information, trying to figure out what everybody does to see if there's an opportunity, there are some people who go in there with the idea, oh, I'm better than 90% of these people, so I'm only going to talk to those that I know of, and those are the only people who I'm going to even have any sort of interest in. And if they don't approach me, then I'm not talking to them. And so I've seen this. I've literally face to face, I have seen this thing happen. And it's like they kind of just sit off to the back, and it's like, yeah, and then you know who I is, and if you don't, then you ain't nobody anyway. It's that kind of mentality. And it's like the issue with it is because like you came there to a networking event to network, but you're not going to network because now you're too much in your head about who you are and how special you are to actually open yourself up to find somebody and meet somebody that you don't know. And there's a lot of value in that room. There's a lot of people that you might not know who could probably add a lot of value to you, but it's a status thing now,
Yeah, actually, it's so as Mike was sharing that YouTube that he saw around this, and we started talking about some other stuff, and I, not gonna name no names either, but we were talking about a situation where, I think Mike had went to a function, and this individual was kind of talking to somebody, and the individual kind of, and Mike can tell a story better I can, but anyway, it's like the guy looked familiar. He went up to him, and the guy did the whole, like, hey, yeah, I seen somewhere. Mike said, I seen somewhere. Then the guy was like, yeah, you probably see me on social media, like, I'm that guy.
Oh, you don't know who I am?
Yeah, I'm that guy. Kind of going along with what you say. And then Mike was like, the dude, old boy, trying to get on next to was the guy he invited to the event. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, that was a connect that dude lost because, Mike, like, okay, bam, I ain't got to tell you who I am. I ain't got to put myself out there. And that's what triggered in my head, like, man, so many people, like you said, miss those situations that could help move whatever they're doing forward, or miss a connection because they too busy trying to fit this persona, like I'm the man or I'm the woman.
Have you ever been asked that question? Like, wait, you don't know who I am?
Yeah, I've had people, and they didn't ask it like that, but in their response, it was apparent that's what they meant.
Word for word, somebody asked me that. I'm like, yep, I know where to put you.
In a room full of people, I can always identify the lions, which is very few, the sheep, which is the many, and then just the kind of, in between, they don't really, they're kind of just going with the flow, like, we'll call them like
goats.
The minnows.
Call them the goats. Goats hang out.
Goats. Yeah. So, and when I go to these type of events, I already know, I'm coming in here and I'm being myself first. Like a big thing that I have in life is, and we call it different things. Sometimes I call it like mental judo, where people's energies, I'm a big energy person, first of all. Let me preface it like that. Like before you open your mouth, before you speak, I can walk in any room and I just analyze the energy. And from certain people's energy, I know man, it's somebody I really want to kind of, get to know for some reason. And certain people that I just don't feel, to be honest. And I was telling Rodney, one of my blessings that I've been gifted with is just the gift of discernment. And I mean, it's literally saved my life at points in my life, like literally a few times. And going back to like your story, Martell, and kind of my story, I had like a similar uh, experience where, you know, yeah, like, I mean, Rodney told the story perfect. Like, I come in and I have photographic memory, so I don't forget faces. So I knew exactly who the dude was. And I know that he's seen me too. But I'm like, hey, well, I came in humble, showing humility. What's up, brother? Heard great things about you. Never officially met. And the guy that he was like, said, because I kind of peeped the situation before I even went up to him. He was kind of giving him his elevator speech, And like Rodney said, that was a guy that I actually invited to the event. I didn't need to try to give him my resume because I already knew the guy. And that's not even my thing. And so he kind of was doing a little bit of posturing, like, yeah, I don't know, you might have met me. And the energy he was giving, I was kind of looked and I kind of laughed as I walked up. All right, brother, have a good day. Because to me, it's always going to be people like that, to be honest. It's going to be way more of them than it is of us. Always. Mm-hmm. And so when you understand the math, I just look at it. And then once people identify themselves, I just kind of chuckle to myself and I keep it pushing. And then Rodney and I, we were talking about, he was telling me about this book called The Bait of Satan. And I was thinking about that for some, because I'm like, man, I could really see how little moments, we're being tested throughout our day, every day. It's little moments that come in and it's not what's happening. That's not the test. It's really how are you internalizing, like what's your next move? And that's really becomes the test. It's an internal thing.
In that book Mike's talking about, man, I recommend it for anybody. I mean, I told Mike when I read it, we went through it years ago, I had to go back and read it again because it just helps give me some armor and discernment in myself. And the premise of the book is that, the bait of Satan is offense, us feeling offended. And we get in those situations that you and Mike just described. A lot of times when somebody do that big balling thing or something like that, it can offend you. And it can turn you off. And but you got to realize that that's what's going on. And just, Mike didn't get offended necessarily for that, but it's just the point, though, it turned him off from that situation. It made me think, as you was talking to Mike and you, Martell, I switched just to like being in the church. It's like we used to have speakers come to my old church sometime. These preachers, they come in, they got a big congregation and all this other stuff. And some of them would come in, and sadly, it was a decent amount would come in, they had like a confidence in them, which was good. But some of them didn't have that humility that came with that confidence, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So they walk in and, you come in, they don't really know who you are, but they just, some of them feel like you a minion, either you supposed to go get them something without them even trying to identify, hey, how you doing? Or, you trying to, shake their hand, they got the, you gotta go to they handler or they whoever's guarding them or whatever. And I used to always be like, man, you can't don't get me wrong, they gifted, but I'm like, if you can't relate to the people, how you gonna touch the people? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that's true in anything.
I feel like the culture that we're in today's society, so many people, they're really like toddlers. They have a toddler type of mind state. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say this is because if they don't see the exact reward that they're getting from this interaction, they lose attention. And with me raising my kids, this is literally the way it goes. Like, they start tripping, show them a Cheez-It, show them a cracker. Oh, cracker. I see the cracker. And now it's like, you got my full attention. And people in today's world is so funny because, and I've had to pray, but like I said, before we start going outward, we got to go inward. We got to go, self first. I've literally prayed about this like several times. Like, you know what, Lord, allow me to fully accept and embrace the people and the interactions that you're bringing into my life for a reason. Okay. Because so many times people will be saying, man, I need this, I need that. And I'll be thinking like, man, I know this, that, and the third. But if they don't even have, if they're not even open, they don't give that type of spirit to where they're open to feedback, a lot of times I just keep my mouth shut. I just listen.
Maybe we should break down what confidence looks like and what the humility look like. So, I mean, I think we got a feel for it, and we probably share the same definition, but those who kind of watch it might be like, well, man, what does confidence look like, and what does humility look like? So I don't know who want to jump on that.
Do we want the definition?
Yeah, of confidence, humility, because that's always a good start. You got it, Martell?
A feeling or conscientiousness of one's power or of reliance on one's circumstances. Faith or belief that one will act in a right, proper, or effective way. And then the second definition, the quality or state of being certain.
And when you read that, nothing's wrong with those traits. What's humility? What's the breakdown of humility?
Freedom from pride or arrogance. The quality or state of being humble.
It's such a thin line between confidence and arrogance, right? It's a very thin line. It gets blurred often. And like I said, I go through these iterations myself, but then I'm also, because I'm teaching my boys and the other kids, like, listen, you have to have extreme confidence through our faith. Like, one thing that I like to say is anything right I've done in my life, it's come through me. Like, that's God gifting that through me. I'm the vessel. Any wrong that I've done in my life, it came of me. I did that as a human because I'm human and I'm flawed. And I think when you keep it in perspective on that, like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You should be confident. But when you're also being shown that you don't have enough experience to be speaking on this, or it's not going right and you need to listen to the more experienced people in the room or ask for help, you got to have the humility to recognize the situation. And I think, one thing I want to say, because I was in a barbershop, we was having a deep conversation as we do in the barbershop, right? And we were talking about, like, how raising kids has become so different. Like, today, everything is about respecting the kids' emotions and respect, they have a voice too. Listen to what they got to say and this, that, and the third, which is cool. I'm all for that. But when that balance gets too out of whack, I think you lose a lot, because back in the day, we knew we got 2 ears, 1 mouth. When we come in the room, we are taught to listen before we speak. You say hi to everybody, and then you shut your mouth unless spoken to be honest. And I think because of social media, I think social media played a huge part where everybody has a voice. I've been in a room with people in real life situations. These men, these so-called alpha dogs or whatever they calling themselves, you wouldn't even have known they were in the room. Quiet as church mice. But on the internet, everybody speaks free of consequence. And to me, it's like that plays a big part of the imbalance between confidence and humility.
Yeah, true.
Because it's funny, we sitting here talking on the internet right now. So there's probably some people who have seen an episode of us like 20 episodes ago, and they was like, man, if I was on there, I would say, and actually I know for a fact that somebody has probably done that because it's in the comments too. They feel like they should be on here.
Yeah, that's like one quick thing. Can I say everybody know about the thing? The difference is, and I'm gonna just speak for myself. Anything I'm saying on the internet, anybody that knows me, I say in real life. Any conversation I have anywhere, I have face to face with anybody, and that's the difference. Because, like you said, some of these people that comment, they not willing to have these conversations in real life. They do it behind a keyboard. They can type whatever.
Oh yeah. People will throw all the stones in the comments, but when it comes to real life, they know they can't, and they won't. But nah, yeah, that's definitely a good point. I wanted to throw it to, because I think I think there's the perfect example of with this confidence and humility The perfect example is Jesus. It has to be Jesus.
Yeah.
Because like the guy, he when you read about what he would say, when you read about how he lived, and when you read about how he would lead in particular, it was a faith, it was a confidence, it was, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do what needs to be done because this is the right thing to do. But it was never, we talk about that balance that like, it's confidence, it's confidence. And then there is that line right there. He never went over to that side of, I'm better than you now. Yeah. Although I am God, although I've got all kinds of power and authority right now, although I can send an army of angels from heaven to come and just wreak havoc over this entire place. Look, that's not my mission today, okay? And because I love you, right, I'm going to make sure that I do not cross that line. I'm not going to be arrogant. I'm not going to be too prideful in this situation. I'm going to say what needs to be said. Jesus will flip a table on you. He did it. But at the same time, he's not about to do anything outside of his own will, right? He's not about to do anything that's going to hurt you. He's not going to be doing anything that is intentionally to do you wrong, right? And so it's like that, as long as you got that, as long as that's like the grounding, the base, the foundation, then you don't really have the opportunity. Well, you always have the opportunity, but you won't really cross that line from being confident to being arrogant, because arrogant, that's when you start to step on other people because you feel like you are better than other people.
The confidence, what do you have confidence in? Where does it come from? Because when you have confidence in your own ability, strictly on your own ability, it goes back to what Mike said too about, hey, what he's done right, what we done right, really, if we got a relationship, we know God is the one that's leading us. So that confidence comes from what God can do in us, not so much what we can do ourselves. When we feel like we can do it ourselves, and that's where that confidence is, then we will get arrogant, because then we are going to flex, because we like, you know what, I know I'm stronger than that individual because I'm physically stronger, or I'm, or whatever. I got more money, whatever the case may be. It's based on our worldly possessions or abilities, versus when God gives us the strength to do something, we put our strength in Him. So we can't be overly confident in ourselves. We need confident in Him. And with that comes humility.
Life has a funny way of humbling us all.
Yeah.
For anybody listening that, may be younger, I guess older too, but probably younger, because if you get past a certain age or threshold, you already know what I'm talking about. But for the young gunners coming up, it's just understand that we have to remain humble, or humble will force us to be humble. Like it'll come in, you know what I'm saying? And this is another thing Rodney and I were talking about. I'm a firm believer of every kid should be in like combat type situations early. Like you should get punched in the face from time to time. You should go to boxing practice, or, when we were coming up, we would just be outside just slap boxing or fighting or whatever the case. And it's like, one thing I could always, when we sitting back and listening to different stories, people are telling, man, when I was young, I used to do this, I used to do that. And I always listen for the details, because the guys that say like, man, I never lost a fight, I never did this, I'm always like, man, they ain't never been in no real fights. They ain't never been in the real fight, because end of the day, that's, or you never challenge anybody that really push you. You only step to people that you knew that you could overwhelm, you could overpower. And the thing is, and I'm not saying everybody should be punched in the face just because I believe in all types of violence. No, it's just that in a productive, controlled manner, like, boxing practice or wrestling or something to where you literally get hands put on you and you feel somebody's power and you're purposely being overwhelmed so that you can't humble yourself. Like we do it in our wrestling with the boys. If you're 8 years old and you're dominating every other 8-year-old, guess what? You're now wrestling with the 10-year-olds. And we're going to see if you can dominate them. And if you dominate them, you're going up to the 12-year-old. We're going to find somebody that's going to kick your butt. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because you need to feel that. You need to be humble. So now you're open to learning. You got to submit and respect the process.
Now, y'all heard Mike say multiple times, he's not advocating violence.
To be
Make
clear.
sure, yeah, don't, because
Not
somebody
just
will
punch the
grab
person
that
next
like,
to you.
yeah, punch somebody.
What we don't want, as people, because we want to win. We want to win all the time. But what actually brings a lot of value is losing. What actually brings a lot of value is getting hit in the face. Because if you win and you win and you win and you've never experienced losing, then that's like an easy spot to get to where, you know what, I don't need anything else. I don't need to improve. I don't need to change. I just am the way I am, and it's perfect. But it throws like this big old smoke screen over your eyes. But the person who done came from the bottom, we love that story. The person who done made it through the mud, the person who lived in abandoned buildings and ate out of trash cans. We love the story of the person who completely came from nothing and made it out, because that person, they got so many reps of what to do in every single scenario. I think I've brought this example before, but it's like, I forgot which sort of armed forces it is, but the first thing that they teach these people is what to do when your gun jams. Not how to protect the other person, not, how to swim, not how to do this, and that, but what is the thing that you should do when things go wrong? Because it's like, in that situation, now you're going to really be tested, one, and then two, we need you to actually know what to do, because you need to have that confidence in something that is real, and real is experience, okay? And so it's like, when you have that confidence that comes from, actually, I done got punched in the face 50 times, so I know what I'm going to do in this situation. I've got confidence because I know exactly what to do afterwards, because I've already been through it before. Humility, I feel like humility is actually a superpower.
Being punched in the face, literally and figuratively, has value, because when you're not scared to get hit. You know that in order to go forward, you're going to get hit. And you might slip some of those punches but when you do get hit, it's not going to be one of those deals where you're going to just be like, I'm done fighting. I quit.
That's the part I was just about. You took the words out of my mouth, where a lot of time, and I don't want to make it like these kids don't, but that's what I see a lot of times though. Before, I was taught, and I tell my kid, you start something, we finishing it. I don't care what's going on. You like it, you don't like. You started it. You have an obligation to honor your commitment and finish it out. But what happens is, a lot of kids grow up with being able to just quit. Something gets uncomfortable. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to win. They're beating me. So you know what? Guess what? I'm taking my ball and I'm leaving. The game is over. And that becomes habitual. And so now what we're seeing, fast forward to the holiday parties. Hey, what's up, Martell? You don't know me? Like, these are the type of guys and the type of personalities that have been allowed to they've been created by not being chastised and formed enough when they were like younger, in my opinion. I look at a lot of people and I'm just like, I can kind of tell the pedigree and the type of village they were raised by. It's very evident the experience that you're a product of.
Fellas, what would you say is like the best course of action when it comes to like being in a daily process of staying in that balance, never crossing the line, between confidence and arrogance, but keeping that perfect balance with confidence and humility?
For me, to drive it home, is like having a relationship with God, knowing that, God is in control, and that when we are doing what's in his will, meaning that we follow his plan, that he gonna make it work. And then the confidence is walking in a room knowing that, okay, all right, Lord, you got this, and you trust in him. And then the humility comes because, for one, you're not taking credit for it. And two, you don't treat people a certain way when you walk in a room. Like, Mike said, you come in and listen, trying to understand what's going on. But at the same time, you're not scared to engage, to get into the fight or the battle. You know what I'm saying? And so when we don't, because sometimes people fake confidence, people, they'll wear the clothes, they'll do everything else on the outside to make themselves look a certain way. But they, on the inside, they're not feeling it.
Fragile.
They're not connected.
They're glass tower.
Exactly. So, I mean, to me, it started with that, with God, knowing where your strength comes from.
You got to do a lot of self-reflection. And, I haven't said it in a while, I don't think, but you got to stop looking at that scoreboard. You got to get back to the daily process. Emphasis on daily process. Are you better today than you were yesterday? That's the only competition, because the thing is, if you gauge your success or failure by what the world is telling you, that's a recipe for disaster. Like, I can speak to it a little bit. I've had a lot of, I guess, worldly, success or whatever. And there's been times where you feel like, man, you all alone. I can't really relate to anybody, because then you start feeling like I can't show any vulnerability. I can't tell people like, man, I'm kind of down. Like, I'm kind of, going through it. Because I've had many people, I'm talking about close people, say, man, you always seem like everything got going on. I never even thought to ask you how you was doing. And I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. And then we have a conversation and a dialogue. But a lot of times, just your internal process, man. That's a big one. Self-reflection.
One thing I want to ask, so the public. Now, if you want to do a quick, I'll call it a confidence and humility check on somebody, okay? I want you to, after someone gives an answer that they are confident in, I want you to just be like, I don't think that's it. Why? Because just like what they were both saying earlier in this about the offense, like how quickly somebody can get offended, and when you tell someone that you don't agree with something, or that you are even opposed to it, the most fragile people will flip out. They absolutely don't know what to do. They can't even handle themselves. And then also the people who actually lack confidence, but they be putting up that front like they, the most confident person in the room. That person, if they got offended in that moment in time, then you'll know that their confidence isn't really based in anything real. Because if I learn something from experience, I know it to be true. Like if I say, I picked this up and it hit the ground, and you say, Martel, I don't believe it hit the ground. I don't have anything to not be confident about. I see it on the gosh dang ground because it's my experience. And so, hey, make sure you do a confidence humility check on yourself for sure. But fellas, there is a group. Mike, you want to tell us about this group?
Yes, sir. So it's called Men 2.0, and we meet every second Saturday of every month since its fruition. It's the type of environment where you're gonna get better if you're of the cloth, and you're like-minded individuals. You want to improve yourself. You want to embrace the process. You want to fellowship with other strong men. Definitely advise just, if you're in the Detroit area, it's actually in Ferndale at a co-working space called Incubizo. So stop by, check it out, man. We follow biblical principles, but we talk about life applications. And you will be surprised what, you can learn just sitting in a room full of men, and by some of the scenarios and situations that they're talking about, you're like, man, I'm kind of going through that too. And that's what we get a lot of times where the brothers don't even realize, like, you feel like you're on an island. But definitely, I say every second Saturday of every month, Men 2.0 from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Come check it out.
Boom. There it is. Hey, Proverbs 16:18, it says, pride goeth before destruction, and a hefty spirit before a fall. Fellas, ladies, let's be confident. Let's be humble. And hey, if you like this episode, you are going to love the one on your screen, and we will see you there. Peace.